Now, what do a boat, a murder, and a real-life Salem witch have in common? Come with me and you'll find out. Let's dive into this, the first of the 10-minute murder mysteries.
Prosecutors say he lured Martha onto his boat and killed her when she spurned sexual advances. A lobsterman found her weighted down body.
The afternoon of July 12, 1991 in Salem, Massachusetts was clear, calm, and seasonably warm. Perfect weather to go for a sail. 37-year-old interior designer Martha Brailsford had been invited by her neighbor and new acquaintance Tom Maimoni to go for a sail on his 28-foot sailboat called the Counterpoint. Maimoni appeared to be an affable, pleasant man of 46. He told Martha that he recently had been widowed and that his wife had died of cancer. Feeling sorry for the man, Martha took him up on his offer to go for a sail. Martha told her husband Brian about the invitation from Maimoni. Brian didn't have any qualms about Martha accepting the invitation because they were happily married. He trusted Martha. Besides, there wasn't any indication that the friendship between Maimoni and his wife was anything but innocent. Maimoni and Martha made their way to an area called the Willows, which is a park by the sea in Salem. It dates back to the Victorian times, and that's where Tom Maimoni had his boat moored. Stepping aboard the 28-foot Counterpoint, Martha had no idea that this would be her last outing. Later that day, Maimoni returned to the dock alone, tied up his boat, and headed home. Where was Martha? After Martha failed to return home, her husband Brian naturally became worried. He knew she had gone out for a sail with Maimoni, and the fact that she still wasn't home gave him a sickening feeling. So he contacted Maimoni, and Maimoni nonchalantly claimed that although he had seen Martha earlier in the day, that she had decided not to go on a sail with him, and then he had gone alone. Maimoni even brazenly and cruelly suggested that the three of them go sailing together sometime, knowing full well Martha was never coming back. The story later was disproved by witnesses who said they saw Martha board the boat at 1 p.m. with Maimoni. Brian didn't buy Maimoni's lame story, so he contacted the Salem police to report Martha missing. Now, normally they would look to the husband as their primary suspect, as many of you probably know. But in this case, because Brian's story seemed so legit, the police looked to Maimoni as their number one suspect, and they went in search of him. They tracked Maimoni down, and they asked him what had happened to Martha. This time, Maimoni changed his story and claimed that although Martha had gotten on the boat, she shortly thereafter changed her mind, decided she wanted to get off. Maimoni claimed that he stopped at nearby Winter Island, which is a recreational area that's connected to the mainland by a small bridge. He claims Martha got off there and that he never saw her again. However, more witnesses would again disprove this part of his story. With new witnesses coming forward, Maimoni again changed his story. This time, he says, they were out at sea, a rogue wave washed over the boat, caused the boom to swing, hit Martha in the head, and knock her overboard. Maimoni claims that Martha then disappeared beneath the water and that he never saw her again. He claims he spent a long time looking for her, didn't find any trace of her, and because he became panicked, he headed back to shore and tied his boat up. For several days, police searched the waters around Salem with police boats, but of course no trace of Martha was found. I know you'll be shocked to learn that in reality, Tom Maimoni was both a liar and a con, and it turns out that his wife was very much alive. We learned later that this was Maimoni's MO, that he would pick up women, offer to take them for a sail. Once he got them out to sea, he would corner them, make unwanted advances against them, and in fact, in one case, he even stripped naked in front of an uncomfortable woman who later threatened to jump off the boat if he didn't take her back to shore. And so it turns out this was something he did all the time, and those other women were very lucky to get back to shore with their lives. Martha, of course, wasn't so lucky and would never be seen again. Two of the women who came forward to say that they had been lured aboard the boat by Maimoni later testified at his trial. Now this is where it gets a little bizarre. The investigators were desperate for a lead, and so they did something really unconventional. They contacted a woman in Salem named Laurie Cabot, who is alleged to be a psychic and a real-life witch, and in fact, Cabot herself claims to be the official witch of Salem. Once they contacted Cabot, Cabot asked them for Martha's name, address, and date of birth, so the investigators gave her the information. Cabot then went into a trance, and she claimed she had a vision where she saw Martha on the boat with Maimone, that Maimone had made unwanted advances to Martha. Martha rebuffed him, and Maimone was pissed off, dragged Martha to the back of the boat, hit her in the head with a blunt object, tied an anchor to her feet and a weight belt around her waist, and then tossed her overboard. Now, mind you, Cabot didn't have any information about what had happened to Martha, so she didn't know anything about the boating trip before she claimed to have had this vision. Cabot told investigators that Martha's body was still tied to the anchor and underwater, and that it would be found off of a small island that had a lighthouse. Now, not long after Cabot made these predictions, eerily or coincidentally, a lobsterman was out on his boat off a small island offshore called Cat Island. And when the lobsterman pulled his traps up, he made the gruesome discovery of Martha's badly decomposed body tangled up in one of his traps. The location where Martha's body was found and the circumstances were eerily identical to what Cabot had predicted. After the autopsy, they learned that Martha had actually been struck 5 times in the face and head. What was even worse was the coroner had surmised that Martha may still have been alive when she was bound up and tossed into the water, and I think that is absolutely the most horrifying thing. Soon after Martha's body was discovered, Tom Maimone went on the run. The investigators then went back to Cabot and asked her for her help again. This time she said she had a vision that Maimone had shaved off his mustache and was going to make a run to Canada. Cabot also said that she could conjure up a spell to stop Maimone, and she did so using a makeshift voodoo doll. 3 days later, locals in a small Maine town near the Canadian border alerted police because they became suspicious about a strange car parked at a nearby cabin that was supposed to be vacant. A police officer responded, and when he arrived at the cabin, he found that the door had been kicked in and that Tom Maimone was inside and had, as Cabot predicted, shaved his mustache and was intending to make a run to Canada. So that's 2 for 2 for Laurie Cabot. It's pretty weird. Maimone pleaded not guilty to a murder charge in Salem District Court, but he was ordered held without bail. He later went on trial where he made his claims of innocence and told the story that Martha had been accidentally knocked overboard. But of course, the jury saw through his crap. They convicted him of second-degree murder and they sentenced him to life in prison. He appealed his conviction, and in 1996, the appeal was denied. Maimone would go on to seek parole several times, the last time being shortly before his death, but of course his parole was never granted given the circumstances of this horrific crime.
He has served nearly a quarter of a century in prison for the death of a Salem woman found weighted down in Salem Harbor, but now a convicted killer is fighting for his freedom.
I alone am responsible for the death of Martha Brailsford. My actions and decisions to dispose of her remains and run are responsible for the narrative.
This is now the 3rd time Tom Maimone has sought parole for his role in the death of Salem's Martha Brailsford in 1991. But at this, Maimone's 3rd parole hearing, he claimed he did not intentionally kill Brailsford. Instead, he said she fell into the water when a rogue wave hit his boat and that he tried to save her life.
How long were you on the boat between the period she was dead and the point you dropped her in the ocean?
7 hours.
And you
Transpired.
And you were by yourself on the boat.
Performing CPR and first aid.
Bullshit!
I lost all, as I'm saying, my state of mind was in a state of panic.
I think you're incapable, for whatever reason, you're incapable of telling the truth.
Martha Brailsford's husband spoke out briefly against Maimone's attempt at freedom.
Tom definitely should be in prison for the rest of his life.
Tom Maimone was convicted of second-degree murder in this case. That's why he is eligible for parole.
Happily, Maimone died in prison in October 2017. To this day, the investigators still give credit to Salem witch Laurie Cabot for helping to solve this crime. What do you think? Do you think that Laurie Cabot, the Salem witch, actually helped solve the crime? Do you think it was all a coincidence? I'd be interested to hear your comments below. And also, if there's a crime you'd like to see me cover, please leave that in the comments below. Also, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, because this is only the first of the 10-minute murder mysteries. We're going to be posting a new one every Thursday, and I hope you'll come back and join us. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great day.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.